Yes, I am really excited today because, like Susan said, we are going to go through God's Word today and get unstuck from fear. And it's funny enough that the last couple of weeks for me has a lot of fears have been coming up. I'm like, what in the world? Like, I'm supposed to be talking about fear. Like, I'm not supposed to be afraid right now. And you know what? God has been so good, and so that's what I want to share with you today. Some of the little craziness in my own mind and how God has been there for me, but also we'll see in God's Word how He was there for so many other people as well in their fears. So we're in the series Unstuck. Hashtag the struggle is real. And so even coming up with my teaching today, the struggle was real. I was like, oh my God, what if people hate my teaching? I'm gonna sound dumb. I'm gonna totally space it when I get up here. And a part of me is like, oh my gosh, I did. Like, forget some of the things I want to say. But that's okay. God shows up. He's here. And the reason why I'm super passionate about talking about unstuck from fear, because I know myself how it feels to feel stuck and to be in fear and to just have fear consume my mind. It breaks my heart that so many people are so stuck in fears. And so I just want to just punch fear in the face today. Yeah. Let's go and dig in God's Word and see. God's heart for His children is not to be stuck in fear. And so I want to share some of the things that we actually, Nancy started the series off with an awesome story about how Moses took the people out of slavery, out into and to give freedom to God's people. And that was God's heart for His people, to have freedom. And I know that God wants freedom for all of you today and in your lives. And so let's see how we can do that. How do we get unstuck from fear? So the first thing I want to check out is we want to acknowledge that there is fear there. What doesn't work for us is if we just pretend, no, I got this, and we don't really acknowledge that there's fear coming up for us in certain things. Sometimes for me, anger is the first response that it comes up for me instead of the fear. I know one time my daughter almost got ran over, and the first thing I was just angry because I was so afraid inside that she was going to get hit by the car. But instead of coming out with this fear, anger came out first, where I was just wanted to ground her, for a week, but I was like, no. The thing here is I was afraid for my daughter's life. And I was actually sharing my teaching with my kids just last night, and they were hearing what I was going to share today. And this light bulb went off for me that I wouldn't want my kids to be saying and having the fears that I'm going to share with you today. That breaks my heart if they were to have these same fears. And I'm like, wow, that's how God feels. That's why God, so many times in the Word, it says, fear not, fear not, fear not. And that's amazing. Why would God want for His children, if God is a good God, He's our daddy, He doesn't want for His children to live in fear. And so the first thing that we want to do is acknowledge. So Nancy started this series off with Moses going to tell Pharaoh that you need to go tell Pharaoh, let my people go. God's people were the Israelites, and He was sending Moses as His messenger to tell Pharaoh, let my people go. So this, and you guys know the Moses story, right? Where you've seen the movie where he parts the Red Sea and Moses is doing all these crazy miracles. So we're going to take a step back, though, and see, this is pre-parting the Red Sea Moses, and we're going to take a look at his heart. So we're going to look at this first verse. It's in Exodus. It's 4:1. It says, so this is God telling Moses, I want you to go and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. And this is Moses' response. He says, then Moses answered and said, but suppose they will not believe me or listen to my voice. Suppose they say, the Lord has not appeared to you. And that's how I felt too. That's one of the fears that was coming up for me in preparing for today. What if people don't believe me? What if people are not hearing my voice? And so that's why I wanted to share this with you guys, because I know I'm not the only one that maybe has invited somebody to church or to the dating workshop. We have everybody at the dating workshop this weekend. In case you're wondering why I'm up here, I forgot to say, I'm LaShay, and we have the dating workshop going on. So our lead pastor, Nancy, is there at the workshop. And so, anyway, so we have Moses in his heart. He was insecure. He wasn't sure if people were going to believe him. And he acknowledged that, you know what, I'm worried about that. He didn't just ignore the fact that he was worried about that. He was concerned, and he was able to look at that. And so so a couple of weeks ago, we went to Disneyland. So I want to share with you, like I said, into my kind of crazy thinking and some of the fears that came up for me. It was a day like this. It was actually a Sunday. It was storming. We were going to Disneyland. We were driving. And so on, I don't know, like 156, where it's like really up in the hills, a big rig tipped over. And so it was blocking all these lanes, and it was scary. And so with fear, the thing with fear is there are real fears. That person that was in the big rig, yeah, there was some fear. That's real fear. His life was on the line. I don't even know what happened to them. But then there's also fear that's what they call FEAR, false evidence appearing real. And that's what was going on for me. So when I seen this big rig, I instantly was like, oh my gosh, if we would have left 10 minutes earlier, we would have been smashed under the big rig. Or what if we would have swerved and then we would be going down into the mountains, and then what if our car would go into flames? And I'm like, seriously, like this is real for me. My heart's beating and I'm like really worried about us. You know, I'm like, what if my kids were injured? And I'm like, seriously, I'm like having a mini panic attack. I'm so worried. However, that was false evidence. We were totally fine. We just had a little stop. We went around the big rig. I prayed for the guy or woman who was driving that truck, but what was going on for me wasn't real. And why would we want to stay stuck in that? Why would I want to stay stuck in those fears? It wasn't even real. And so I know I'm not the only one who starts imagining crazy things happening. You guys, I know, I can see it. You guys have been there too. And so that's why I'm like, why would God's not blessed with us thinking like that, you know? It was crazy because afterwards I was actually reading this devotion on my phone, and I realized instead of automatically saying, oh, thank God that we're safe. I am so blessed that we are safe on our drive. Like instead, I was just instantly going to fear, and there wasn't even really anything going on. So it disconnected me even from God, and I had something to be thankful for. So we want to take a look at that. Some things are real, and some things are not real. Also, in the last couple weeks, my brother-in-law was in the hospital. He had a stroke. We didn't know what was going on. I had other people in my life that there's just health things going on. I don't know what's going on. There's things that are fearful. And so the next thing, we don't want to stay stuck in just acknowledging the fear. The huge thing is bringing it to God. We want to bring things to God. Whatever is on our heart, it's helpful for us to see the fear and bring it to God and have Him. We want to be in God's presence. And so that's what Moses did. He acknowledged his fear and he brought it to God. He told God his response. I'm not sure. What if people don't believe me? And so we too want to bring it to God. And some of the fears that we can bring to God is, sometimes we're afraid of what other people are going to think, fear of being alone, fear of being worthless. We have insecurities, fear for our own selves. There's so many fears. A big one for me was fear of failure. So my kids are, like Mike said, they're playing softball and basketball. So Mike is taking charge of that with the kids, and he's all into sports. Me, on the other hand, I never played sports, and it wasn't until now, so many years later, I know why I didn't play. I was so afraid of failing. I didn't want to go and totally suck out there, you know. I was so afraid of losing that I missed out on the opportunity to have that experience. And so now it's such a blessing for me to see my kids go out there and experience. They tell me, oh my gosh, Mom, I'm really nervous to play this game. And I'm like, you know what, guys, it's okay. You're going to go out there and have a good time and just try your best, you know? And so I hear that from God, and I know that he's saying that to us, all of us, that, you know what, he hears our fears and wants to be there for us in that, and wants to you know, be rooting for us in our corner. And so the thing is, we want to see, though, that there are missed opportunities if we stay stuck in fear. We have a choice. We can totally stay stuck in these fears. And also how we respond to fear. We have a choice. We are not, it's a big lie that we have to stay stuck in those fears. If fear comes up, we can't do anything. And so I think that's a big reason why, for me, I'm passionate about saying, no, let's get unstuck. I don't want for my kid to just stay stuck in fear and just sit on the bench. I don't want to play. When I know that they can have an amazing time running back and forth, playing that basketball, you know, if they shoot the hoop and they miss it, it's all right, you know? And so that's also for us. If we go and try and do what we want to do out there, God still wants to encourage us and be there for us. So that's why it's super important for us to bring it to God. So the next thing, like I mentioned, is that a lie is that we're not able to do things. When we bring it to God, he can show us what it is that we can do, what is in our power to do. There's certain situations where you can't do anything. But when we bring it to God, I notice that there's always something that we can do. We can pray about situations. Maybe you're afraid of having a hard conversation with somebody. Maybe there's somebody on your heart that you want to invite to Easter, but you're worried about it. You're worried about what they might think about you. And so God can help us in that. And so one of my favorite sayings is, do it afraid. So with fear, that's going to come up. That's totally fine, but you can still do it. So when we bring it to God, he shows you what it is what's your next move. You can ask God, what's my next move in this? And so that's the thing I want you guys to all be thinking about. What fears are you stuck in? What fears are coming up for you in your life? Is it work? Is it having a hard conversation? Is it, changing jobs? I don't know. But I know that God can help you, whatever it is, in your next move. And so let's see what happens for Moses. Let's go to our next verse. It's Exodus 4:2. And it says, so the Lord said to him, what is that in your hand? He said, a rod. And he said, cast it on the ground. So he cast it on the ground, and it became a serpent, and Moses fled from it. So he had a piece of stick, just a stick, in his hand that was like, put it down, and it turned into a snake. And he ran away. I find this verse hilarious because I just know if that was me, I would have took off too. I don't know. I think God was trying to show him Moses couldn't have done that. You try that, guys. Try to put a rod on the ground and see if it turns into a snake. We are not able to do that. But with God's power, we can see miraculous things. And it's hilarious. Moses took off, even though he knew that was just a rod in his hand. And so the cool thing though, even though he was afraid, he still did what God asked him to do. This is super, it's exciting to me that Moses, we could all be like that. God can be like, hey, I want you to do this, and then we do it. There was no questioning here with Moses. He did it automatically. And then, wow, we see a miracle here that God performed. So let's take a look at the next verse, what happens after the snake is on the ground and Moses took off. It says in verse 4, then the Lord said to Moses, reach out your hand and take it by the tail, the snake. And he reached out his hand and caught it, and it became a rod in his hand. I don't know if I would have done that. I'm like, this is why it was Moses, it wasn't me, because I would not pick up a snake. But Moses, he was faithful. A huge thing for us when we're facing fear is to continue to be faithful. What God is asking you to do, he's asking, how small is it to just cast the rod on the ground? Easy, right? A little harder when he had to actually pick up a snake in his hand. And so that's a big thing that builds our faith, is God will ask us to do kind of little things at a time, and they will build up. Because God, you guys know the end of the story, right? Like, Moses parts the Red Sea, he sees all these miracles, plagues happen, huge things. And so, but it started off right here, where all he asked Moses was to put the rod on the ground. And was that doable? Totally. And I think that built Moses' faith. So why did he pick up the snake even though he was afraid? Because God asked him to do it, so he did it. He was faithful. So the thing that we want to do is continue to be faithful. Bring these fears to God. We can continue to do it afraid, and that will continue to build our faith. So let's read in verse 5. So this is God responding to Moses' concern from the get-go in what we read in verse 1. It says that they may believe that the Lord God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has appeared to you. Furthermore, the Lord said to him, now put your hand in your bosom, and he put it in his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous like snow. And he said, put your hand in your bosom again. So he put his hand in his bosom again, and he drew it out of his bosom, and behold, it was restored like the other flesh. How awesome is that? Moses, if he would not have done what God asked him to do, he wouldn't be able to see all these crazy miracles and build his faith. And so it's his faithfulness that he continued to do these things that God asked him to do. Can you imagine seeing your hand leprous like snow, and then all you're doing is putting it on your chest, and then wow, it's normal again. This is amazing. These are miracles that God is helping Moses see that I'm going to be there for you. And so God provides whatever God's asking us to do. He provides the strength, the encouragement, the empowerment that we need to do those actions. Like I shared my fears coming up here today. What if people don't believe me? What if I sound completely dumb? You know what? Just do it though. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be up here. And if I sound totally stupid, I did what God asked me to do. I'm here. You know what I mean? And so that's what we want to do. I know God's going to provide the strength that I need to be up here. And He has been faithful, and time again with things coming up for me, God has been faithful. So I know He's not going to just disappear today in my 20, 30 minutes of sharing. That's ridiculous. And so it's been little things that God has shown me along the way that He would be able to help me in this. Something that's a big, it's something that really means a lot to me. And so because I want everybody to be unstuck from fear. And so that's why I'm it means so much to me that I want to say whatever you want me to say, God, because I want for people to get unstuck from fear. I want people, like the song, I love the song that Susan sang with, that we're not slaves to fear, and none of us are slaves to fear. And we could claim that. And so that's, we want to claim that we're not slaves to fear. And why? Because God's here. God is powerful. And so let's continue on in verse 10 with what Moses continues on to say. He's back into that fear. He's feeling a little insecure again. So he says to God, then Moses said to the Lord, oh my Lord, OMG, I am not eloquent, neither before nor since. So let me just stop right there. He's taking it back. He's taking it back to things of the past. What's interesting is that how many times have we gone to the past of I wasn't able to do that before, so why am I going to try it again? I failed at that before, so let me just stop there. So what's awesome about Moses, he's bringing it up to God, he's telling the truth, what is on his heart. But let's continue on in this verse. It says, neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant. So up until now, he says, but I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. So the Lord said to him, who has made man's mouth? Or who makes the mute, the deaf, the seeing, or the blind? Have not I the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall say. I love that. Moses brings his insecurities to God, and God's like, you know what? I'm going to be with you. Wherever you go, I'm going to be there with you, and I'm going to teach you. I'm going to be with your mouth. The thing that He's concerned about, God is directly speaking to what He's afraid about. And God can do that for all of you. Whatever it is that you're afraid, whatever those fears that you're stuck in, God can speak to that directly. God is not, oh, you'll be okay. That's not God's heart for us. And that's what I think is super key in reading these verses. That's what built my faith the last couple weeks, was continuing to read these verses. If God was faithful to Moses, then why wouldn't God be faithful to me? Why wouldn't he be faithful to all of you guys? We can bring that fear to him. It's not all on us to turn serpents into rods and rods into serpents. It's not on us. God has that power. And so when we bring things to him, we'll see these miraculous things. We can see God's power at work. We can have big expectations. When you bring that fear, have big expectations that God is going to work with you. God is going to work in you and through you, and we can expect big things. Let's not think small. That's the fear talking. I don't want to have... So many times I had these fears. That's why I didn't do so many things in my life, because I was just stuck in fear. What if God doesn't show up? What if this happens? What if this person leaves? No, let's not live in that fear. We can expect God is going to be there. We can expect that, if we, many times I've just, I've had hard conversations with people. Man, what if this relationship ends? What if it's just turns horrible? And praying about it, it turns out amazing. Let's have expectations that things can turn out for the good. So back to what God responds, I'm going to be there with you. And that's the cool thing when we do bring it to God, because many times we just don't even want to include God in the fears. We have these fears that come up and we just pretend they're not there, or we don't want to pray about it. That's what happens to me sometimes, especially with work stuff. I don't want to pray about it. Oh, God, I'll figure it out. And I don't bring it to God. But when we do, we can see that God will be there for us in that. And also with the verse 11 where it says, God made people deaf and mute and blind. That's an idiom of permission. That is a figure of speech. God does not make people blind and mute. That's not God's heart. As we read through the whole, this story and the whole Bible, we see that God's heart is full of love. God is a good father. And so for more information, like Mike said in the beginning, we have the Seekers Retreat that's coming up in May. So you can sign up is it May? Yes, May. We can sign up for that and get more information as far as what that means. So, but we want to speak truth to the fears. And that was a big thing with me preparing this teaching. I was able to share it with other people. I was able to see and read it in God's word. Like I read right here, this verse that said God was going to teach me what I should say. I read it. I also shared it with Nancy. I shared her with my fears. I was like, this is beginning. I was like, I don't have anything to say. I just know I want to talk about fear, and that's all. She's like, oh, have you wrote things out? I said, no. I didn't want to because I was so afraid. I was just stuck in this thinking of I'm gonna sound dumb, I'm gonna sound dumb, I'm gonna sound dumb. And so she was like encouraging me to sit down and write. She was like, you know what happens is sometimes you just write out your thoughts, and then you can, after that, you can kind of structure that into a teaching and whatnot. And so I probably took another week or so to actually do that because that's talking about stuck, guys, right? Like I was so stuck, I didn't even want to sit down and write my thoughts down. Like that's crazy. And so I was like, okay, it's time for me to get unstuck here and do what God's asking me to do and what Nancy suggested for me to do. And so so we have other people that can help us, like what we do on Sundays is everybody repeat God's truth. And so I found an awesome verse that I want all of us to repeat, and we can repeat this during the week. When fears come up, you can just punch fear in the face with this verse. And so reading God's word, though, is another thing that will help you be able to speak truth. Because for me, when we were on the road, going to Disneyland, I wasn't speaking truth about the situation. It was all things that were just made up in my mind. And so it's helpful to speak God's truth. God wants my family to be healthy. God loves my children. God is for my children. God wants us to get to Disneyland and have a good time. Why not? God's a good dad, right? Like, that's not God's heart for us. And so I want all of us to speak God's truth into those specific situations, the fears that you have. We want to speak truth to that. If it's you're not, maybe you feel like, oh, for me, I have this performance thing. Oh, I'm not performing well, so God's mad at me, and so that's why I don't want to pray. I don't want to write things down. So that was a part of the stuckness in my teaching. Oh, I should have had this done already, and this and that. And I was like, no, God is going to be there for me. God can help me in this and give me the right words to say. And so we want to continue to speak truth. So one of the, when we're feeling down, or if you're feeling, I don't know what's truth to speak to my fear. Psalms is a great place to go to in the Bible, and so we're going to read a psalm. It's Psalms 46, 1 and 2, and it says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear. So let's say that together. We will not fear. Okay, 1, 2, 3. We will not fear. Okay, so when we feel afraid, we can all say that together, but I don't think you guys really meant it. So let's try again, okay? 1, 2, 3. We will not fear. Okay, say it again like you mean it. We will not fear. Okay, we're gonna do it one more time. I can see it on your faces. Some of you don't believe it. Let's do it again. We will not fear. Why? Because God is our refuge and our strength. It's not on us, guys. God is our refuge. And you see in the next part, it says, even though the earth be removed and the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea. So you know what? Things can hit the fan, guys. That's reality. But you know what? We don't have to be slaves of fear. We can be strong and courageous because God's got our back. It says it right here that God is our refuge. God is our strength. It's not on us to get all of our lives figured out, It's God saying, I'm going to be there for you. Whatever craziness happens, I'm going to be there for you. And so, a time in my life where God was my refuge and strength was a couple years ago, that my uncle, he passed away from pancreatic cancer. It was a scary time. When we first found out, I didn't know what was going to happen, if the treatments were going to work, if he was going to be okay, how was my family going to react, if he didn't make it, what was going to happen. And so, sorry, I didn't think I was going to get this emotional. But God kept telling me that to come to him. There was nothing that I could do to be able to heal my uncle. I couldn't fix it. I couldn't minimize his pain. I really couldn't do anything. And I got stuck in these fears of oh my God, what's going to happen to my uncle? What am I going to do? What's going to happen? And finally, I was just cried out to God. I just said, what's going on? What am I going to do? I don't want to feel like this anymore. Because the big thing is when I get stuck in fear, I kind of shut people out, and I wanted to, if my uncle was going to lose his life, I want to maximize that time that I have with him. I want to be there for him. I want to be there for my family. And so what was on my heart, one of the fears that came up, like I said, there's real fears that we have. Sometimes it's imagined. So we want to see what the difference is and what we want to bring it to God. And so what God showed me that I could do was, one of the fears that came up was, I don't know if my uncle, if he's saved. I don't know if I'm going to see him for an eternity, in heaven. I don't know if I'm going to spend eternity with my uncle. I don't know what's going on. So I prayed about it. I shared it with Mike. And sharing our fears with other people really helps. And what was on our heart was to go over there to my uncle and my aunt's house and share Jesus with him, share how important Christ has been in our lives, share with him that he can have eternal life no matter what happens. And so we did. So we went over there, and I was, my heart was beating on the way over there. I was like, what if he thinks I'm totally crazy, loony, for asking if he wants to believe in this God and Jesus that you can't even see. So I'm afraid, one of those moments of do it afraid. So Mike and I go, and Mike was helpful. He started the conversation, and then ended up, I asked my uncle if he wanted to accept Jesus as his Lord, and he said yes. Though he and my aunt accepted Jesus. So 2 people that day accepted Christ, and it was amazing. Getting past those uncomfortable feelings, getting past the fear was worth it, because I want to just skip over to this verse. It says, it's in 1 John 4:18. It says, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear involves torment. But he who fears has not been made perfect in love. And so love is what casts out those fears. And I love my uncle, and it's worth it. People are worth us getting uncomfortable. You know, I'm sure for Moses, getting back to our story, what if Moses would have said no to God? You know, or what if he was questioning God? Like, all those people that were in slavery, they would be dead. You're in slavery forever, you're gonna die, right? But no, that wasn't God's heart for them. God chose Moses. Moses stood up, got past his fear, and got all those people out of slavery. And so I know that there's been things that I've felt a slave to as well, and God has taken me out of that. And so it's God's love that is what casts out that fear. And so it's, for me, for my uncle, it was worth it, because my uncle meant the world to me, and to be able to be there for him and share Jesus with him was worth it. And so that's how, for me and my year this year, is I'm just saying, forget fear. I don't want to live in fear. I want to love freely. I want to love people freely. Even with my own husband, sometimes I get scared and I don't want to be vulnerable every day. You know, the fears come up, but no, I want to be connected to him. I want to share the things with him, because that relationship, my husband, means the world to me. It's worth getting uncomfortable. It's worth not getting stuck. You know, it's worth bringing it to God, acknowledging those things, and doing what God asks us to do, and speaking truth to that. My husband loves me. No, he's not going to shut me out if I share my vulnerabilities with him. You know, we want to speak truth to the fears that come up. And so people matter too much for us to stay stuck. And what's been on my heart this last week too is we're all doing the 3 weeks of fasting and praying for Easter. We have people on our hearts that we're inviting. We started last week, and so in case you weren't here, you can jump on in this week. So it'll be 2 weeks continuing to pray for people that are in our lives. We want to pray passionately. We want to have those big expectations that we can invite people, and then boatloads of people will walk through that door because you got uncomfortable, because you decided to face your fears and include God and do what he's asking. And so I just, you know, just fear, it could be there, but let's not stay stuck in that. So what I want to have you guys do is take out your orange connection cards. And for people that are on your heart, like for me, people that are maybe they just got a divorce. Maybe there's things going on with their children. There's things that, you know, coworkers that have shared their heart with you where you're just afraid for them. You know, we can share this message. We can share this Searchlight love with other people. So let's write a couple people down on the back of the connection card, and then we can all be praying with God to move and having expectations that God can work in those people's lives. So let's just write a couple names down on the back of the connection card. Please raise your hand if you don't have a connection card. Okay. A couple people don't have them over here, and a pen. So we want to write these people's names down, and also know that other people, it's awesome to know that other people are praying for your people. I don't even know who you're writing down on your cards, but you know what? I'm going to be praying for that person. You know, I know you could be praying for that person. And so to wrap up, the couple of key points that I had was to acknowledge your fears, bring it to God, speak truth to those fears, and you know what happens? Love casts out those fears. God's going to be there for you. God can pump you up when those fears come up. And so I want to pray for all of you guys before we wrap up. And hold on to your connection cards, and then we'll pass them around in just a little bit. Dear Lord Jesus, I am so grateful that you stand beside us no matter what. I am just amazed with how your love is just so deep, and how it has changed so many lives, and that you would help us to have a better relationship with our Heavenly Father, who is so caring and gentle, and that you would set that you would just set us on the path that we could be world changers and we could be unstuck and be able to make a difference in the world around us. And so I thank you so much that you would use us, that you would be able to use our words, that you would teach us wherever we go what we could say. And so I do pray and lift up the people that are on everyone's hearts, even the people that are not even written down. I just pray for all of them, and I just thank you that you laid down your life that we could have eternal life. And I'm so grateful that there will be a day with no more sickness and no more fears, and we get to share that hope with other people that are alone, that are hurting, that are lost, that are so stuck in fear, that we get to be lights in this world, that we could share your love, because Jesus, you are amazing, you rock, and I thank you that you're here today and that you never leave our side. And so Jesus, we thank you so much and your love, and I just pray for the dating workshop in this last day, that people, I know those guys are getting unstuck from their fears and unstuck from so many things, and so we thank you for that. We thank you that we can have church and the dating workshop all in the same time, and that people are blessed, Lord. Thank you so much. In Jesus' name, amen.